Good afternoon. Chief White and I wanted to start this week by addressing the violence that this community experienced over the weekend, and particularly the shootings that occurred downtown. And I want to start by thanking the Detroit Police Department for their outstanding professionalism, the job they did this weekend. We had 5 shootings in Greektown, 1 on the Riverwalk. All 6 shootings, the shooters were promptly arrested by DPD and are now in custody. It was a remarkable law enforcement performance. It also shows us how far we have to go. I was downtown and through Greektown pretty much all afternoon and most of the night on Saturday, and the atmosphere was mostly joyful. People happy, crowds on the street, and the like. But when each of the shootings occurred, the response from the police, in just about every case, the police officers heard the shots, responded quickly. A remarkable thing happened. Citizens who were angry pitched in and helped the police, pointing out shooters and pointing out which way they went. And of course, we had the cameras throughout the area and officers back in the real-time crime center who were directing the police on the ground exactly where to go. It was, from a law enforcement standpoint, a special night. From the standpoint of the loss of life, it was tragic. And our hearts go out to every one of the victims of the shootings, and in particular to Mr. Darryl Strawder, who was a beloved longtime member of the Greektown community, security guard who was known for his kindness and gentleness. And to see the video of a man standing calmly on the street with no argument going on, and to see somebody walk up and just shoot him in the chest and kill him. There's just no explanation for it. And we're used to seeing people who are committing crimes who don't want to get arrested. I don't understand the decision-making because you shoot a gun in Greektown with the police, with the citizens and the cameras, it's virtually 100% certain you're going to be arrested, convicted, and serve a great many years in prison. And the tragedy that befell the victims has another tragedy, the families of the shooters, that these individuals who put a gun under their waistband and thought it was important enough to have a beef, that they're not coming back to their house and probably won't in many cases for 20, 30, 40 years, threw away their lives for a moment of conflict. But law enforcement did what it did, and now we're going to talk about the way that we're going to step this up so that it doesn't happen again. In the first place, DPD was staffed for our spring staffing, which is pretty heavy. Chief White is going to tell you that we are immediately going to our midsummer staffing. We got a weekend of warm weather, but we're not taking any chances. We had a very successful summer last summer. DPD is immediately going to its full midsummer staffing throughout this area. But as I say, you had individual shooting people with officers right there. And we also are going to need help from the parents of this community. And we are asking for that help. And it has been for as long as I can remember, the curfew in this city is 15 and under have to be in by 10 o'clock or be with an adult. 16 and 17-year-olds can be out to 11. You can't have unaccompanied minors anywhere in the city. This isn't anything new. And people should know this, but I just want to tell you what I saw. 10:15 at night, I was just driving because I was just immersed myself in what was going on at the corner of Randolph and Monroe just down the street from where we had a murder 2 hours before, had a shooting 45 minutes before. 10:15 at night, the car in front of me, 2 doors open up. 2 kids jump out that could not have been more than 11 years old. They head for Monroe, and the car drives off. 10:15 at night, and those children are going into harm's way unaccompanied. And all I could think is there's no way the parents knew that those shootings happened earlier that night. But I also watched large numbers of 12 and 13-year-olds, 10 o'clock, 10:30 to 11 o'clock, heading toward Greektown. And that's either somebody either dropped them off, or in many cases, I believe what happened is they were dropped off earlier in the day on the Riverwalk, and nobody came back and picked them up. And so they worked their way to the Greektown area. Again, our children being put in harm's way. And let's be clear what we're saying. The 5 shootings in Greektown, not one of them was by a juvenile. The man who shot Mr. Strada was 33 years old. But we have to face the reality that for whatever reason, Greektown has become an area where 2 groups beefing with each other show up to settle the beef, or people go down looking to start beefs. I don't know why you do it in an area where you're 100% certain to be arrested, but that's what's happening. And we cannot let our children head into these areas unaccompanied. And for me, this was the emotional roller coaster. During the day, I have to say, I have never seen so many families and so many strollers in downtown Detroit. We had young families and strollers up and down the blocks. You can tell they're proud of their city. And of course, on the Riverwalk, where we had another shooting, lots of children, lots of strollers. This is the community that we are trying to protect. Downtown is going to be for everyone. Everyone is going to be welcome, but everyone is also going to be safe, and the same is going to be true on the Riverwalk. And so we are asking for the help of the parents to make sure that the curfew is honored this weekend. The chief is going to have some elaborate steps to use the 4th Precinct to take curfew violators. And curfew violators, the charge is not against the child, the charge is against the parents. But we don't want to have those conversations. We can make this city a city where everybody is welcome in every neighborhood and everybody is safe. But it's going to take the parents and the police to work together. And we're about to do a great deal more on the law enforcement side. If the parents will join us, we can have a much better summer than we had. And with that, I will turn it over again to Chief White and say, please tell the men and women of the department on behalf of the people of the city, thank you for a job well done this weekend.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Chief.
Good afternoon. And I echo the mayor's sentiments. It was amazing police work, hardworking men and women of this department. Literally everyone who pulled the trigger downtown was arrested. Just great police work. As usual, when we have an officer-involved incident, I'm going to brief that out. And as I've indicated in the past, these incidents are subject to change as the investigation continues. But this is what we know right now. The incident occurred involving the officer-involved shooting at 12 a.m. Saturday morning. Officers were sitting stationary on patrol when they heard gunshots. And this incident involves the one shooting that resulted in a tragic death downtown on that date and time. They heard the gunshots coming from the area of the nearby parking structure. They start to pursue what they believe to be the suspect. It turns out that the shooting was actually adjacent to that location. When they see the 2 suspects running, the officers pursue directly behind them. They enter the parking structure. The officer never loses sight, knowing that there's several people in the parking structure. We later find out it's over 50 people in the parking structure. Never losing contact with the suspect. He orders the suspect to drop the weapon. Suspect continues to run, and this turns out to be the suspect who's involved again in the earlier shooting, moments before that time, that resulted in the tragic death of a citizen. He pursues him, he gets to a vehicle, and at that point he turns towards the officer. The officer fires one shot, and the suspect dives into the vehicle, and there's another person in that vehicle who's in the driver's seat and drives off. Later that evening, minutes later, that we were able to find out where the vehicle was. The suspect was dropped off at the hospital. We get to the hospital, and he is taken into custody, and he is right now in police custody, but at the hospital being treated for his injuries. I believe that could have been a lot worse. It could have been an active shooter. There was already 3 people struck, and what the officers did was just simply amazing with that situation. And pursuant to our policy, this will be handled by our homicide task force, which includes members of the Michigan State Police who will lead the investigation, and the findings of the investigation will be turned over to the prosecutor's office for review. This weekend, as the mayor indicated, also included the tragic death of Daryl, which I know him as, and he's a security guard that works downtown, has worked a variety of assignments. Just a very, very nice person. I have reviewed the video, and it's just simply tragic. An incident that occurred inside the store involving someone who stepped in front of the suspect. Daryl was attempting inside of the store to remedy the problem. No big deal. The citizen who stepped in front of him or cut the line apologized. This bleeds over out front, and as you look at the video, you see that we have officers not only literally in front of the location, but on the corner on their stationary assignment. Also, another officer walks by as the conversation is taking place out front between the suspect, his girlfriend, an unnamed citizen, and Daryl. And there's no confrontation, there's no argument. He takes a small caliber weapon out of his pocket and fires a shot into his chest, unprovoked. And just sadly, Daryl at that time walks back into the business. You can see that he is stunned and surprised and later collapses. And tragically, we know the results of that. Again, we know that this is not representative of our city. We know that these incidents are such that no one wants them. We saw hundreds of people enjoying themselves with their family, with their children, and they're fed up with the violence too. Our citizens, our community, our business owners are fed up, and we know that because we get incredible support and assistance. Every single incident we had in downtown, we had assistance, people pointing people out. We had a situation where a suspect was escaping. He jumped down on the freeway. It was the citizens who said, he's on the freeway. And we get down on the freeway, we shut the freeway down. They tell us where he tossed the gun. And it was with their assistance we were able to get the suspect as well as the weapon. And again, it's on and on. People want to enjoy the city, they want to have a good time, and they don't want to be involved in this type of situation and these types of incidents. There's truly no words to express my gratitude to our officers. Not only are they giving up their summers, working these details, but their commitment to this community is second to none. Just great police work. I do want to talk a little bit about what we're going to see that's a little bit different. We always are working to improve our processes. We have a very comprehensive strategy for our summer deployment and crowd control detail. We talked about it last year with our 5-point plan. We have a spring deployment, and then that gradually increases to a summer deployment, and then we go into a fall deployment. What you saw last week was our spring deployment. We saw some very high numbers that we did not anticipate seeing until midsummer. We have made a decision departmentally to move right into our midsummer deployment, and with that comes a few additions to some things that we know works and some things that we want to do differently. One of the things that you will see is an emphasis on crowd management, ensuring that we have vehicles that are legally parked in certain areas moved. We're going to be focusing on making sure that the egresses to these locations are clear, the open intoxicants, people walking through those areas with liquor in cups, things such as that will be enforced. We'll also be enforcing disorderly conduct. We'll be enforcing more heavily noise at businesses. We're going to need the participation of all the businesses in Greektown to keep the music to a normal level and then gradually turn that music down towards the end of the evening. We'll also be looking at our curfew violators. And, you know, we're not saying that, you know, that the kids can't come down and have a good time. We want them to come down and have a good time, but we also want parental responsibility. And what we've been talking about as a team, we're not really focusing on giving a kid a ticket. We're focusing on if you're dropping 20 kids off, 15 kids off outside of curfew or close to curfew, and there's no parental supervision. If you want them to enjoy the downtown, the Greektown area, mom and dad, adult guardian, come along with them. That's perfectly fine. But when we got 10 or 15 kids that are together, they're subject to being accosted. They're subject to finding themselves in problems as well when you don't have that adult oversight. And so we want to make sure that we're doing everything we can to help keep them safe and keep them out of harm's way as well. I'm very focused on making sure that parental responsibility ticket is issued to the parents because that, I think, is where the message needs to be sent. They have a profound responsibility to assist us in aiding and keeping their kids safe. So again, the greater concern will be that of enforcing the parental responsibility ordinance. You can expect enforcement of violations with these three-wheelers, these ATV vehicles. We'll be talking more about that in the coming days. But an ATV is not a street legal vehicle. They put us all at risk. They put our officers, our citizens at risk, and blazing through our community, not just downtown. You're going to see a greater emphasis placed on that. We're also going to be looking to clearly identify with signage pathways, walking pathways, more to come on that. The 2 a.m. closure of our businesses in Greektown will be made clear in our signage, and there'll be announcements coming with that. And we're going to do a number of different things for safety with barricades and things such as that, just to ensure that there's a degree of safety. And before I take any questions, I just want to say hard work from the men and women of the Detroit Police Department, support of their community, is so valuable for us in what we do. I mean, we have the eagle eye in the sky. We've got the real-time crime center, but we could not do what we do, again, without our community. So we want to make sure that we emphasize, you know, the support of the community, but also how welcoming we want our community to be for everyone who wants to come downtown, and it's not restrictive to our young people. We just want to make sure that they have the requisite oversight that they need beyond the curfew hours. So with that, I will take any questions that you all may have.
Good morning, Chief. I think I'm just wondering, in terms of what that springtime deployment was downtown over the weekend in terms of numbers and what we can expect moving forward with this increase to that summertime patrol.
Yeah, and we don't get into specific numbers because that compromises some of the things that we're trying to do. We had I think a very strong contingent of officers spread out throughout the downtown footprint, particularly focused on the Greektown area and the Riverwalk. We were intensifying those numbers significantly. Our midsummer deployment numbers are about 25% more. I don't get into actual deployment numbers, but it will be significant. You saw that we had a significant presence down there over the weekend. You saw them on every corner. What you'll see more of is specific and directed patrols in certain areas. You'll have some undercover officers that'll be working within the crowds. We'll do some things on rooftops with officers that we didn't do before until the summertime, where we'll be looking down from roofs onto crowds. We'll be using our helicopters more. Our helicopters will be partnering with our commercial auto theft unit to focus on the ATVs and the drifters and the drag racers. So that all tends to come together in the mid-summer deployment.
Sure, and can you elaborate on the technology usage in terms of like what tools you have at your disposal to clamp down on some of these shootings?
Well, we certainly have good old-fashioned patrol, which works very well, and it worked very well this weekend, which is why we were able to make an arrest on every single incident involving a gun. We're going to be more in the crowds looking for people who are legally carrying weapons. You don't want to bring your gun downtown. We've got opportunities to do things that are unique because of the confined space in which we're operating with. The Eagle Eye is something you see in our towers. You may refer to them as a tower. Those are the lifts that we have officers in. There's a camera system in there. There's an officer who is monitoring. And then we get into some UC stuff. I don't want to get too specific because that's counterintuitive, but we do some things in the crowd, in plain clothes, where we're identifying people who may have some nefarious intentions and not just to be downtown and have a good time. So that's what we're doing.
Now, is the department still using the Evolve?
Absolutely, 100%. And we've partnered with a number of businesses with Evolve, been well received, and it's been a valuable tool for us. It's non-intrusive. In fact, I got a couple of calls today wanting Evolve for businesses for this weekend. So yes, we're going to continue to do that, and we think it's a valuable tool for us.
Great, thank you.
All right, thank you.
Hi, Chief. Amy Lang from Fox 2. Any additional plans for spot shotter anywhere? And what's your message to folks who may be concerned looking into the warmer weather coming? We've got Grand Prix, a lot of excitement. And I know that you all speak of wanting everyone to feel comfortable, but certainly this is something that could keep people away. What's your message?
Yeah, I don't want to keep people away. I think, we're very strategic in what we do. We use data. We make our deployment sensible. We're very focused. We're not unlike any other major city that's experiencing some upticks and some unique situations, and we're in front of that. We've got a very detailed strategy without giving it away, and I'm very confident that Detroit will continue to be a welcoming downtown area. And we also have, what big cities with new growth have, right? We have a vibrant downtown, and there was a time not long ago where that wasn't the case, and now we have to, meet those challenges with deployment and some of the things that we're doing. But we're confident that we're going to get a handle on this, and we already had a handle on it when you've got officers making an arrest. And some of these situations are just inexcusable, violent. Some people think they get a lot more courage when they have a gun on them. Guns get you in more trouble than they get you out of. You don't need a gun downtown. If you bring one downtown, you're very, very likely to get arrested because of the technology and the deployment that we have. But this will be fine. We will get there, and please.
So two things. One is on ShotSpotter. ShotSpotter helps you when you're otherwise not getting notified. In this case, I think our police officers heard the shots in virtually every case. So I know that ShotSpotter helps. But I point out, if you go back and look at your stories a year ago, we had incidents in April and May. The department went to its summer deployment, and we had a very good summer. And so I'm encouraged by the fact that we're going to go to the summer deployment starting in April, and we're to continue to adjust strategies as we go. If we get the community's help, I'm optimistic we could have a good summer.
Thank you, Mayor. And just one last question for the chief here. In terms of this chronic problem that we've seen, and maybe you don't know the answer to this question yet, because I'm sure all of these investigations are still unfolding, but we've seen this chronic problem of police or people being out on bond, violent criminals who reoffend. Do we have this situation again in any of these situations from over the weekend?
So what's the question on that?
Are any of these people, these suspects that you've arrested, were any of them out on bond and potentially, should have been locked up like we've seen with so many other incidents? Yeah,
we're looking at that right now. Right, one suspect is out on parole, but I don't. At this time, I don't see any of them out on bond.
Thank you.
All right, thanks.
Chief Simon Shakette with 7 Action News. In March, we reported on the Shot Stopper program, engaging community groups to partner with law enforcement and to apply for grants to bring down crime. How do you envision Shot Stopper being a part of the solution after a weekend like this?
Yeah, I'm hopeful that it will be part of the solution. I think it shows tremendous promise. I'm excited about that. I'm excited about the community's input beyond Shot Stopper. So yeah, I think that it has some great value to us, and we're going to be looking forward to working with these groups to see what they can do.
And think, as you know, we budgeted $10 million for 3 to 5 areas, hoping to get 3 to 5 applicants. Deputy Mayor Bettison is here, is running it, but Friday, the bids closed, we had 25 groups. So we will be screening those in the next month. But I'm extremely encouraged by the number of organizations in the city who believe that if you intervene with folks early, you can make a difference. So I don't know, Deputy Mayor, when are we going to have our bids selected?
Over the next 20 to 30 days.
Okay, so next 30 days, we're going to have our bid selected up to City Council, and I'm really optimistic. The excitement on the shot stopper proposals is real.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Will Jones from Channel 4. This first question is for the chief. How many people, minors, were detained over the weekend, and how hard is it going to be to enforce the curfew?
Well, the curfew's been on the books. This is not a new curfew. This is the same curfew, and it's not just downtown. It's all over our city. The detention numbers, we had 12 juveniles detained and 2 parental responsibility tickets issued.
Okay, and the next question is for the mayor. What are you saying? Are you meeting with the business community about this spate of violence downtown over the weekend?
So the chief is going to come back on Thursday with specific plans for parking, pedestrian deployment, et cetera. There's very intense conversations going on with the business community. There'll be a concerted strategy, and on Thursday, the chief will tell you the details. So everybody who comes down will know exactly what to expect this weekend.
Thanks.
For Chief Gino Vici, CBS News Detroit. Chief, I walked with you on Friday night, hours before this shooting. Maybe you can talk about the boldness of these criminals coming downtown. Is it a shock to you that you had so many officers on patrol and they still decide to come down there and do this?
I won't say I'm shocked, but it's certainly a bad decision on their part. I mean, when you look at you saw it. I mean, with your own eyes, you saw the deployment that we had. I've seen video where the officers are feet away. Earlier the question about, shot spotter, and well, we got shot spotters. They're called police officers. They're listening and reacting immediately to the incidents, which led to the success of the arrests because they were right there. The boldness, I think, has more to do with just bad decision making, guns in the wrong hands, impulse decision making, and a lot of other things that we're not going to solve here at this press conference. But at the end of the day, we will refine our deployment, and we will be more engaged with, I think, the undercover officers in those groups that are walking and really giving us some heads up on what's happening in those arguments and things like that ahead of time will be of great assistance to us. All right. Thank you very much, everyone.